So let's talk a little bit about addiction. So the phenomenon of addiction is basically the desire for the infinite expressing itself through limited and finite quantities. So addiction doomed is a phenomenon doomed to failure because it will not give you happiness. It doesn't work, in short. It only gives you a finite amount of pleasure, basically, for a finite amount of time. But what we desire is the infinite, and therefore the addiction will eventually stop giving you pleasure. You'll get bored of it, but you will be unable to stop, and that can be lethal and produces an immense amount of suffering because you've invested your well-being in something that harms you, and it runs out. So it basically dumps you in the end. So discipline, intensity, intelligence are ways to deal with addiction. And meditation is one such way. Meditation is basically the practice of consciously being in the now, whether that is through your work or whether it is direct meditation. It is simply being aware of the absolute truths. That is meditation. So the addiction might have a certain momentum even once you realize this. But as you get more conscious, your level of intensity goes up and the addiction falls away because it's exactly like a teddy bear that you outgrow, a certain action figure that you outgrow from childhood. Just another toy basically that we play with temporarily, realize its futility and go beyond eventually. But it requires a certain level of attention, intensity, and discipline to generate the intensity necessary to go beyond addiction. That intensity is a high in itself, and a much more subtle and refined high than the high that any addictive substance gives you. And that intensity is enough of a high that it doesn't require you to pursue other highs like cigarettes or marijuana or alcohol or sex or other harder drugs or even television or shopping or work. We get addicted to all of these things. So when this momentum of past addiction continues, which it inevitably does, because you realize everything that has been said and you still are unable to stop consuming the substance that you consume. So the only way to deal with that is awareness. And acceptance is another aspect of it. Because if you do not accept that you're addicted, it generates an additional level of suffering to the level of suffering that is already there in the addiction. So forgiving yourself is important. In parallel, generating the intensity necessary to go beyond addiction is important. So that's a little bit about addiction.